All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Salta School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to call this meeting to order. A recording and/or broadcast of this meeting is being made at the direction of the board, and the meeting and/or broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. I will now take the roll call. Vladimir Ivanovich.
Here.
Steve Tagle.
Here.
Jessica Spicer. Here. Brian Johnson.
Here.
And I, Vaishali Sarkey, am here as well. Will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would any board members like to provide comment on tonight's agenda? Okay, in that case, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? I so move. Thank you, Jessica. May I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Motion to approve tonight's agenda as presented was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Closed session report. No action was taken in closed session tonight. Superintendent's update. Mr. Bear.
Yes, just a couple of items this evening. A reminder just to the board that parent-teacher conferences are well underway. Probably wrapping up for many of our teachers this week. Those are, we're hearing positive, going well with the, as you remember, we give some flexibility. You remember we have flexibility again this year. Sorry about that.
Leave it to audio. Leave it to this one.
All right. We've been, teachers have been conferencing since early October and all the way through this time. So the flexibility has, I know, by and large, been appreciated with that. Also coming up, we have our kindergarten information evenings. Those are happening the week after Thanksgiving on December 2nd. This year, we are also doing a virtual whole district event for those who prefer to attend virtually or want to attend that one as well, I suppose. That's happening on the 15th of December. So those are some big events coming up. Looking forward to those. That's it.
Thank you. All right, on to tonight's consent calendar. Would any board members like to provide comment on the consent calendar? Okay, then may I please have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented? I so move. Thank you, Jessica. May I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Motion to approve tonight's consent calendar as presented was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Now from Los Altos Teachers Association, Kate Skirmerhorn. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, good evening. As Jeff mentioned, teachers are continuing to meet with families to connect and discuss student progress. We continue to be appreciative of the flexible conference model. As we head into the last week before November break, classrooms continue to be full of engaging lessons, art projects, and opportunities for connection. Just as we teachers are checking in with our students and their families, we appreciate that the district is taking time to check in and survey teachers. This is a great opportunity for teachers to share how we're doing so we can continue to be supported by our LASD community. Teachers are looking forward to having an opportunity to recharge next week. And as we prepare to spend time with our own families, we hope our students and their families also enjoy their time together next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And I don't believe we have anyone tonight from the California School Employees Association. All right, now, to provide public comment on an agenda item, members of the public should use the raise hand button if using the Zoom app, or press *9 if using your phone. Your name will be announced when it's your turn to speak. Prior to providing your comment, please be sure your microphone is on. Requests received after public comment begins will not be accepted. community comments. This time is reserved for citizens and employees to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. The board is not permitted to discuss or take action on non-agenda items, except to instruct the superintendent to review the matter further, report back to the board at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. The board may make a brief comment or ask clarifying questions. Anyone wants to comment on non-agenda items, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. And we'll go on to our next agenda item, Assembly Bill 361 update. Jeff?
Yes, this is an opportunity for the board to again reaffirm the family meeting in this format. The board is allowed to do this via Assembly Bill 361 as long as there's still a state of emergency in the state of California, and there's been guidance from the county public health department that meeting in remotely is recommended. So both those things do exist. So every 30 days, the board needs to take action to reestablish this.
Thank you. Members of the public, if you want to make public comment, please start raising your hands now. Board members, do any of you have questions for Jeff? Are there?
Shall I just like to
Yeah.
just point out as a I guess reminder, we haven't spoken of this, but this affects board meetings and all board committee meetings as well. So if we think of CACF, if we think of curriculum council, any of those public meetings will also be moved.
Are there any requests for public comment? I do not see any takers. Public comment is closed. Any further comments on this agenda item, board members? Okay. Then may I please have a motion to affirm the conditions of AB 361 have been met in order to continue virtual meetings of Los Altos School District Board of Trustees.
I so move.
Thank you, Jessica. May I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Motion to affirm the conditions of AB 361 have been met in order to continue virtual meetings of Los Altos School District Board of Trustees was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Awesome. Teacher housing project update. Jeff?
Yes, so we are excited to bring this item to you. We have a number of guests that I'll introduce. But a number of years ago, Supervisor Joe Simidian, the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, brought forth this concept idea around teacher housing, and went to local districts and tried to rally support. We were definitely interested at the time. Fast forward, that has moved through a number of hurdles, and here we are today. And I'd like to introduce Megan Pearson, Kelly Hollywood, Sarah Chaffin, and Catherine Alexander. I'll let each of them introduce themselves and who they represent. But this is exciting. This is a chance for the board to see the concept and hear more about it and what it has grown into and the timelines ahead. So Sarah, am I handing to you?
You're handing to me, Megan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And we are very excited to be here today to give you an update on this project that we've been working on for a couple of years now. My name is Megan Pearson. I am with Abode Communities. We are one of the developers of this 231 grant project. Kelly Hollywood is here tonight with Mercy Housing. They are the other developer for the project. And then we also have Sarah Chaffin with us. She is our outreach consultant. And Catherine Alexander is here from Supervisor Simidian's office. So you can move to the next slide, please. So we're just going to give you a project summary just to remind you of what the project is. And then we're going to provide updates on the design, financing, and schedule. Next slide, please. So this is just a reminder of what the project entails. So the total project is 110 units made up of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. It's designed to serve a range of incomes from 60% area median income up to 140% area median income. The units will be designed, they're a modular design, so it'll be a modular delivery, which means the units will be constructed off-site and delivered to the site. And it's a 4-story building. We have 112 vehicular parking spaces, which is about 1 per unit, and then 134 secured long-term bike parking spaces. And for the public space, you'll see in the following slide, we have a variety of public plazas along Grant Avenue, and then a small 1,000 square foot flex space. Next slide, please. So this is our updated site plan. You have Birch Avenue to the left, Grant, and then Park Boulevard. As you can see, we've put the parking to the rear of the lot, and that's the 112 parking spaces, and they are double car parking stackers. That's how we can get the 112 spaces in that small space. But then moving along, so on the corner of Birch and Grant Avenue, there is an existing palm tree there that we are retaining, and we've kind of built a little public plaza around there. Then moving along Grant, there's 5 residential units on the ground floor. And then in the middle, you come to the Welcome Grove, which is really the main entrance to the building. And that is going to have a variety of trees and landscaping, and it'll have benches that are at different levels. So people can sit on them, kids can climb on them. It should be a really fun, welcoming space. Then moving along Grant, we have our residents community room. So this is a community room for the residents that live in the building that they can use for gatherings or parties or meetings. And that opens up onto a little community porch that will look out onto Grant Avenue. And then moving along to the corner on Grant and Park, we have a flex plaza there. So that will be an open plaza with some trees and landscaping that will tie to the flex space. But people can sit there and have a coffee, read a book, meet some friends. And then the flex space is really, that's kind of our retail space that we've retained for the project. And we're still kind of working on what the use of that is going to be. But we've narrowed it down to kind of 3 options based on the community outreach that we did with the people from your district, from the other school districts, and the community. And really what we heard is kind of 3 things they'd like to see there. So the first option would be a small coffee shop, grab and go cafe. The second option would be renting the space to some sort of nonprofit that could provide some sort of enrichment classes like music, art, something like that, dance, something that would fit in that smaller space. And then the third option would be to have some sort of exercise class there. So also on the ground floor, we have the bike room we talked about, and then we have a couple different spaces for resident storage. So this would be for larger items that they don't want to put in their unit. They'll have additional storage on the ground floor. All right, next slide, please. So this is moving up to the 2nd level. So this is where the units start, and then they stack above here for the 3 stories of units. As you can see, we have 3 open spaces for the residents of the project. Starting on the left, the west courtyard is kind of our larger gathering space. We have 3 barbecues there with some tables, chairs. People can go out there with their family and have a barbecue, have a little outdoor party. And then we also have some games there for them to play. Moving into the center courtyard, so just to the left of the center courtyard, we have our laundry. So we have a small place there in the front by the bridge that people can sit while they're waiting to get their laundry done, read a book, work on their computer. And then coming down the center courtyard, in the middle of that, we'll have the children's play structure. And just beyond that will be kind of an open space that people can use for exercise, stretching, or kids can play in. And then moving to the rear, that's where we have the dog run. So it's a small dog run, so it's intended for people to, walk their smaller dogs. And then moving all the way to the right, we have the east courtyard. So the east courtyard, we've kind of designed as a more intimate space. So as you can see, it's broken up a little bit more, and there's small tables and chairs for 1 or 2 people to sit out there. We thought, if people come home from work and they still have to grade papers or something, they could go out there, get some fresh air. It will have Wi-Fi so they can use their computers and get some work done. And then all the units are, scattered about there. The studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just a summary of what your school district is allocated at this point in time. So we have 12 units allocated to your school district, which is again a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. Right now, the distribution, which is not finalized, but where we are right now, your district would get 3 studios, 7 1 bedrooms, and 2 2 bedrooms. And those units will range with rents affordable to the whole range of the 60% AMI to 140% AMI. So you'll have units in all of those income ranges. So your district will have a range of affordability levels that you'll be able to offer units to. The units will be offered on the lottery system, and how we got to these mixes for the school district was based on the survey results that we did a couple years ago of the people from your district. So that's how we determined the unit mix and their affordability levels. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the financial terms. What we requested is $600,000 from your school district, which works out to about $50,000 per unit. The way we currently have it designed is the school district will provide the funds to the County of Santa Clara. So there'll be an agreement between the participating school districts and the county. We're asking for the funds to be committed and received to the county prior to April 2022. And that's basically just so we can keep our schedule moving along. And we just wanted to remind you that the funds are considered grant funds. No payments or residual receipts will be provided by the project. Next slide, please. So this is just our schedule update. We had our EIR public meeting October 20th, 2021, so last month. We're planning on going to the Board of Supervisors. Actually, it's going to be in January 2022 now. We're planning to submit for our demolition and building permits in spring 2022, and then start demolition at the site in the fall of 2022, and the remainder of on-site construction in winter 2022, and installing those modular units in spring 2023 with a completion date of the first quarter of 2024. So we're moving along. I know 2024 sounds a long ways away, but it'll be here before we know it. So that is the completion of our presentation. Well, welcome to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Megan. Members of the public, if you want to make public comment, please start raising your hands now. Are there any questions from the board? No? Okay. Are there any requests for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. All right, let's open this up for board discussion. Would anyone like to provide comment on this agenda item? You're making eye contact.
Yeah, I have a question. Units are assigned by lottery. Do we have any flexibility on that score? What I'm thinking of is, I know the board is enamored of preferences for lotteries. I'm wondering if we could allocate some of those units for extremely hard to fill positions. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. That is something we could definitely take into consideration. We had suggested the lottery system because we thought that was just a way to make it very fair. And, nobody could say, oh, we weren't even able to get these units. But that's definitely something that we could take under consideration. and talk through with our team if that's something you think would be really valuable to your district.
Defer to the collective.
I just, off the top of my head, comment is, I'm not sure that a hard to fill position has an automatic correlation to a need for housing.
No, agreed. But if it arises, it might be something we could think about.
Any other questions?
I think a couple, you were going through and said, units are mix was based on surveys done 2 years ago. The buildings will be completed in 3 more years. Is there any plan to do an interim sort of revisit of the mix required by district, given that the time window is going to be pretty far? And then as a follow-up to that, is there a plan to revisit unit availability by district with subsequent surveys on a rolling sort of basis based on perhaps need? Because I think what I'm thinking of is I'd hate to find us with studios we couldn't fill or a 2-bedroom we couldn't fill based on current need, and what does that look like and what happens to those units or our ability to keep somebody in the building if we can't.
Yeah, so I think we definitely could update the survey. I would say probably doing it before we start construction would probably be the best. That's something we definitely could do. And then I think on an ongoing basis, the units that you're designated are going to be pretty set. So we wouldn't be able to, let's say suddenly you had, a bunch of families that wanted 2-bedroom units. We wouldn't be able to give you 2-bedroom units from somebody else. So I think your units, whatever the mix ends up being, is going to be pretty set. As to if there could be some shift in the affordability levels, I mean, there might be some flexibility there. This is another thing we hadn't really thought about. So let us, circle up as a team and think about that a little bit, what that would mean. But I think there could be some flexibility in the income levels it's reaching, but the actual units are going to be pretty set once we start construction.
Great, thanks.
When a teacher gets allocated one of these units, do they get to stay as long as they're a district employee? I know some teacher housing developments elsewhere, the teacher only gets to stay for a certain number of years, with the theory that you're allowing them to build up a down payment or something else and to make it available to more teachers over time. So I'm just wondering what your plans were there.
Yeah, we are planning that as long as they're an employee of the district, they could stay in the housing, not having a, like you said, some teacher housing projects or educator housing projects have like a 5-year sunset on it. We were not planning on doing that. Now we might have ways to encourage people to, like maybe have classes to help people learn how to become homeowners or save money or that sort of thing. But we were not planning on putting a sunset on when they could stay, as long as they're employed by the district. That would be the one condition, of course.
I had a question kind of made me think, based on Vladimir and Brian's questions, is how much as a school district we have like jurisdiction over what happens with our 12 apartments, right? Because you're asking about, who decides how long the teacher can stay there. But if we as a district decided we wanted to do something different, something you asked kind of made me think, like, how much, I think jurisdiction is not the right word, but like, you see what I'm trying to.
Well, this is a question, maybe you can talk a little bit about it, is just what's the management relationship here? Because there's obviously going to be someone managing the entire 110 unit block, right? It's not going to be each district managing the block.
Yes, no, Mercy Housing, who is the other development partner, is going to be managing the property. I'll say for Mercy management's sake, we would prefer that everybody has the same policies. But if there is some super compelling reason why you would want something different, I mean, that's definitely a conversation that we could have. There's nothing from a regulation point of view, that's saying it has to be like this. So, I mean, that could be a conversation we would have, but I think our preference is that all the school districts are the same, just that makes it easier to manage. And already, it's going to be already difficult with so many different school districts. So, and, in terms of the actual units, so Mercy Housing will be managing the property. They'll be managing the lease up. They'll be managing, when someone leaves, filling that unit again. What we would be asking for from your school district is help in marketing those units. So, we could provide you with the materials, but we'd really love your help in marketing it to your employees.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just one more very minor question. If a district employee rents an apartment and then leaves the district, were you considering a grace period when they could stay in there and not get booted out the day they left?
Yes, we are definitely working out the details of that. And, once we have all these policies, we will share them with you. But yes, that is where we currently are thinking that there'll be some sort of a period of time of which to be determined. We're working with the attorneys on what's appropriate, but there will be a period of time where they can stay there. It won't be like if you quit your job, you have to move the next day. There'll be a period of time where they can make sure that we find other housing. We don't want to make anybody homeless by any means. So.
By the way, I completely understand the desire to have uniform policies for all the districts.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I'm
it will make management much easier.
and just one other thing, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky, I'm just trying to understand what our role is, going forward. So when you mentioned the 2-bedroom units, you mentioned that families may want to move in there. What if we had like 2 single teachers who wanted to, like if they wanted to share an apartment? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, can we have a little bit more leeway as to?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if there was 2 single teachers that wanted to share a 2-bedroom, that is completely okay. The thing that happens is when you qualify, you have to qualify, your income has to qualify for whatever the set income for that unit is, right? So if 2 teachers wanted to share a 2-bedroom, both of those incomes would be considered. So as long as their income was still within whatever the range was, totally fine. But if their income was higher, obviously, they wouldn't qualify for the unit.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'm so glad to see this coming along. It's been a long time. What has Secretary Simonian been doing? Supervisors been doing these things?
Believe me, we've been working super hard on this. I know these projects, they do take forever. Coming from the affordable housing world, this is actually pretty lightning fast for us. So we're going as fast as we can. And believe me, Supervisor Simonian is pushing us right along and encouraging us to go as fast as we can. He's very anxious for that groundbreaking ceremony.
And Megan, prior to, I saw April of 2021 as the 22, sorry, as the requested date. Partnership documents, I mean, that there's going to be documentation outlining the roles each of us play and are these owned units or these leased units? Is this just understanding what all of that is important?
Yes. So like I said, we are working on all the property management side documents right now, which, we will share with you. And the county is also currently working on that agreement that will be between the school district and the county for the flow of funds. So all that is in the works. I believe the goal is to have that before the end of the year. So I don't know, I don't know your timing of how long it will take your attorneys to review it, but the plan is to we're working on it, getting it as soon as possible, but definitely before the end of the year, we will have those documents for your review.
Thanks.
I have
one question,
Yeah,
and it's
sure.
more probably for Randy and Jeff, is $600,000 for, on the hook for, so how are we funding that?
So we,
Which I want to fund it.
I know. I think we'll talk about that when we share the first interim financial report with you at the next meeting. I think it's a good question to ask at that time.
Okay, I will do that.
Exciting. Any other questions or comments for this team tonight? I just want to echo what Vladimir said, and Jessica, we're all very excited about this. And,
Thank you so much.
Yep, and many
Yeah.
thanks to Supervisor Smitty, and I remember when he stood here and pitched it to us, so thank you for just keeping this rolling along. Keeping it moving. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate the chance to come and give you an update. We look forward to moving into the next steps with you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye-bye. All right, let's move on to our next agenda item, COVID-19 update, outdoor masking vaccination.
yes, wanted to bring you an update and then also return, you would ask for a future agenda to include a follow-up and discussion on the outdoor masking. So we'll start with a chart you're familiar with. This is the total number of cases, both student and staff. Positive COVID cases we've experienced since August 1st, which we're kind of calling the start of the year when people started returning to campus. Still numbers that are quite low across the district. I think you've seen this before also. This is the county's COVID case dashboard. We have a 7-day rolling average of about 177 cases. I think it's 176 today. But it's been holding in that 130 to 175 range for some time since that bump we experienced in August, September. Also looking at COVID cases by vaccination status. The top bar, the highest bar, are the case rate per 100,000 of unvaccinated, and you can see they are running quite high, about 4 times higher than any of the other vaccinated groups, and even the unvaccinated 11 and younger group. So with regard to testing in the district, as you know, we're doing pool testing through Concentric. We partnered with them last school year as well. That began September 20th. We have a very high participation, approaching 90% on average in the elementaries, high 80s, and about 65 at the junior high schools, 65%. We have had 3 positive cases from that pool testing over what's coming up on 2 months now. So it's a very low number that we have experienced. And we have had no additional positives from the follow-up testing. As you know, when there's a positive, we then do follow-up testing on that entire pool. And we have not had additional positives as a result of that follow-up testing. The early detection and following the protocols from the California Department of Public Health are really helping to stop that spread. Vaccines. So as you know, elementary school students are now eligible for vaccines. We see students out each day getting vaccination, so that's a positive. Our junior high schools, Egan, you can see the numbers there. 87% of our 7th graders are vaccinated, 89% of our 8th graders, that's fully vaccinated. And at Block, 86% and 92% comparison numbers. And additionally, there are 9 Block students and 8 Egan students who've received first dose. So that it continues to creep up after we hit that, probably about 85% pretty quickly. The numbers are continuing to creep up. As I just said, elementary school students, that's 5 to 11-year-olds. Generally speaking, it's our kindergarten through TK through 6th graders. generally speaking. They're all now eligible for vaccination except for 9 TK students. And those 9 students have birthdays between now and December 2, right? So there's 9 kids who aren't yet 5 years old who are in our TK classes. They will become eligible, all of them, by December 2nd. We do expect a similar vaccination rate to our junior high school students. So we're going to be waiting for that to happen, right? We will keep tabs on that. Our nurses are doing a fantastic job. Our health staff, we will keep tabs on that. And as for the staff, 96+% now of our staff are fully vaccinated. So that's a positive as well. So we are a highly vaccinated organization as a whole. And I mean, that really mirrors our community, right? We're a highly vaccinated community as well. So with regard to masking outdoors, as you know, the board directed for all staff and students to be masked outdoors, required masking. That's in comparison to the California Department of Health guidelines, which are to strongly recommend but not mandate masking outside. I think some things to consider as you're reviewing this, that we do have a highly vaccinated pool of students and staff, and our quarantine protocols are now firmly in place. I can assure you that in each of our schools, there are routines that are followed. The staff, the students are in high compliance with all of those. We have a sustained low case rate in the district, in this area, for sure, in this northwest corner of Santa Clara County. Masking indoors is firmly in place and it's enforced and followed. And as I said a second ago, campus safety protocols are also well established and in place. So I think the questions for the board are, shall we move to align with CDPH, California Department of Public Health protocols, strongly encouraging outdoor masking for junior high schools? And then the same question for elementary schools. And those might be 2 different answers with 2 different timelines. But as a reminder, California Department of Public Health continues to require indoor masking, right? That won't change. So it's really a question about the outdoor masking. So 1 to 2, I think that's the last slide. Wanted to open that, I'll leave it here, but open that for discussion.
Thank you, Jeff. Members of the public, if you want to make a comment on this agenda item, please start raising your hands now. Board members, do any of you have clarifying questions on Jeff's presentation? Do any members of the public want to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Do you have one? Oh, okay. So it's just the one, Trevor Marshall.
Just one, anyone, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Before we start our public from speaking, is there anyone else who wants to raise their hand? Okay, it looks like we only have Trevor for public comment. Trevor, you can have 3 minutes.
All right. So yeah, I mean, my understanding is that the risk of transmission outdoors is significantly lower than the risk of transmission indoors. And it's also important for kids to stay in shape. So we want them to be, not gain weight during this. We want them exercising vigorously outdoors. I used to live in Denmark. They never masked their kids under age 12, even indoors in school. Also in Sweden, I think the UK, Ireland now, and other states, and they haven't had huge issues with, kids getting horribly sick from this, and they don't have terrible corona numbers. So, and there's just, the long-term effects. We're not talking about masking kids for just like a month or a little bit. We're talking about 5 days a week, 6.5 hours a day are we going to go on for 2 years now? And so it's just concerned about the, language development, emotional development, issues. I can see my third grader, his enunciation is not good, and I'm pretty sure, kids need to see mouths to learn language. You can find, I sent an email once, I didn't send a link. The CDC had one where, they found a reduced risk, but it wasn't for masking, but it wasn't statistically significant. And it was a large study in Georgia. There are, you go into other studies as well, going back and forth, but particularly outdoors, my understanding is the risk is very low. And even if you look at the whatever the results for the trials for kids for 5 to 11, even in the control group, they didn't have any serious COVID things, right? They gave 2,200 kids, 1,400 got vaccinated, and 700 or so approximately were the control group, and not even the control group had any serious cases of COVID, what they defined as serious cases, right? According to the documents that Pfizer and FDA put out. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Trevor. All righty. Let's open this up for board discussion as we consider the top two bullet points that Jeff has put up. And think also about a timeline, dates, when we would make whatever decision. So I'm just gonna leave it open-ended. Does anyone like to start? Jessica?
I think junior high we should definitely push such the strongly recommended. Outdoor sooner rather than later. They are, for the most part, vaccinated and well above the even 80% of the county for certain things. So, I don't know what a good date would be, perhaps after the break. This next break we have, Thanksgiving break. As for our elementary school students, they are not fully vaccinated yet. As you said, we're starting to see them leave school and get vaccinated, but it's their first dose. I'd like us to come back when we have percentages that are similar to the junior high and determine that date. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Brian?
So I agree that the junior high, given that they're highly vaccinated, given that the high school has not been requiring, the high school's already at strongly encouraged rather than required masking outside. And they have not had big outbreaks. And the high school is a lot denser than Block-Egan. So I think signs point that that's still a reasonably safe recommendation. So I defer a little bit to the junior high administration about when would be least disruptive to make that kind of change, but I think there's no reason not to make it sooner rather than later. The elementary schools, I understand the desire to be safe and to wait for vaccination. But I think in my mind, the elementary school students are already outside unmasked with each other. They eat lunch, right, outside. And we haven't seen any transmission outside at all. We haven't seen any transmission in our schools at all. So, I kind of think that it would be safe, to move from required to strongly recommended at any time. I don't think it's necessary. I understand the desire to wait for vaccination. It doesn't strictly seem necessary to me. So I'd be in favor of sort of making that shift as soon as the school administration thought it was appropriate.
Can I just ask a clarifying question, Jeff? Is El Camino Hospital or any other organization helping us with vaccinating our kids on campus?
Santa Clara County, right through Mountain View Community Center. And then we just received notification this afternoon, we'll be sending it out tonight or tomorrow, that there's a vaccination date this Sunday, all day at Palo Alto High School. So there are some opportunities popping up.
Okay.
Right?
Great.
Yeah.
Vladimir?
Jeff, I had a question about county or state or federal health department recommendations. My concern is that I see the possibility, at least, of a significant uptick in infections come winter. And I've also rumors, whatever that there are states that are having big upticks in infection rates, even though they were considered leaders in fighting the infection earlier. And so my question is, do we have any sense from the county or from the state about what the possibility is for a significant uptick in infections? Do they have any?
So I have not heard that. I mean, I've heard, I don't know. There's certainly a lot of conjecture out there, right? What I'll say is that the California Department of Public Health guidelines haven't changed, right, through any of this. Right? They're requiring masking indoors. They're strongly recommending masking outdoors, but leaving it optional.
I don't want to make the decision myself. Let somebody else make it.
You're a board
But,
member.
yeah,
You're part of the decision makers.
it seems to me reasonable that given from what I know about outdoor infection rates are very, very low, that at least for the junior highs, we should probably consider sometime soon to allow no masks outdoors. For the elementary schools, obviously that's a little bit more dicey, I think. Once we get significant rates of vaccinations, complete vaccinations for all our elementary school children, which will have to be after December 2nd, plus I think 6 weeks, you get a second dose. Then we can revisit that. So perhaps early next year, we could revisit the elementary school master policy. But some part of me says this is not a huge issue in terms of inconvenience towards kids. They just go ahead and do their own thing anyway. I mean, they play around with masks on, that's what I'm trying to say. And they don't seem to have a problem with that. They eat, take them off, put it on, they just do it. It's the adults that seem to have a problem. Did I make any sense?
You did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this as two cohorts as well. In the junior highs, I'm very comfortable with the idea of post Thanksgiving doing another round of testing, just to make sure nothing weird happened with vacations. If the numbers come back the same as they've always been, moving to the CDC, CDP, whatever those acronyms are, guidelines would make sense to me. During that period of time, one of the things I think I'd want the junior highs to do, they do a lot of, at least Egan's do a lot of outreach with students about how to be, about news stuff. They could work into that. If masks are coming off or you're not doing this, remember to do the following, kind of like a sort of reminder with the students would be a good idea for me. And if they could work that in, that'd be great. I don't know if they use things in our block, it'd be great. For the Grant elementary schools, my thought is, the last thing I want to do is this, mask on, mask off, changing our minds once we move down this path. So I'd be comfortable with the idea of seeing how the junior highs play out before the Christmas break. And then doing something similar there, doing a week of testing, a couple weeks of testing, see how we're doing, if there's no big outbreaks based on having mixed with family members and stuff. Then maybe we start to move into the CDPH guidelines, and we'll get it right eventually someday, and embrace that. And so, we're looking at January timeframe for me, but I definitely would like to see us use the tools we put in place before we take masks off. So Thanksgiving break for the junior, come back, test the junior highs, but it looks like we're stable, adopt it and move forward. Post Christmas, do the same thing with the elementary schools. Would you mind?
So for me, the fact that the vaccines are now available for our 5 to 11-year-olds is kind of a game changer in my way of thinking. Because prior to that, I felt like we as a school district had to do whatever we could to protect our kids, right? And now the vaccine is available. and parents can go and get their children vaxxed. It seems like there are vaccine appointments. There's no dearth of those. So that kind of made me think like, okay, I mean, that was very reassuring to me. I think that most kids will likely continue to wear a mask outdoors anyway. You know, I think that whether we tell them you don't have to, you know, they're gonna want to anyway. Or their parents will tell them, I want you to wear a mask when you're outdoors. So it'll be more on the parents, I think, between the masking and the vaccine. So I personally am, okay, well, if you look at it, two different cohorts with the junior highs, I'm fine, like lifting the outdoor masking mandate, you know, and letting the kids and the families decide for themselves what they want to do outdoors. For the elementary schools, I totally understand what you're saying about wanting to test, you know, after the Thanksgiving break. But I feel like it's kind of out of our hands a little bit to be able to protect our kids if parents are not going to be careful about letting their kids mingle with people who may or may not have gotten vaccinated. It's almost, I almost feel like it kind of defeats what we're trying to do. So we are gonna find a bunch of positive COVID cases if that happens. And then what, you know? I think that the fact that the kids can get vaccinated for me is a huge relief. And so I'm okay. I mean, with junior highs, like I said, I'm okay lifting the mask mandate a lot sooner. You know, December. I don't know if you wanted me to throw out a date, I'd be happy to do it December. If we want to go a little slower with the elementary schools, I'm fine with that. But I think that I'm okay to remove the mask mandates for elementary schools in the next
Outdoors.
next month. Outdoors. Yes, I am okay to do that as well.
I'm not. I agree. Basically, Steve and I are on the same page. He's just adding the test piece, but my date for elementary was in January. By then, even, I don't think actually the TK students are all that many of them as it relates to them getting vaccinated. They're not going to be 50%. Like, I think we're heading into that next break pretty quickly. So I foresee back in January, that we would be lifting the mandate and making it strongly encouraged.
The only reason I wanted to delay it
Yeah.
was around the idea that we saw the bump those holidays last year. Because families do things differently. It wasn't huge, a little bit. I just would like to make sure that nothing weird went on.
We're protecting the kids
Yeah.
that who are actually behaving. They're
Yeah.
not, that is who we're protecting.
That's my thought.
So just to play devil's advocate.
Yep.
Okay. I get it. There's a break coming up at Thanksgiving. We want to see if there's an uptick.
Yep.
There's a break coming in December. We want to see if there's an uptick after that. There's a break coming up in February. There's a break coming up in April.
So I agree with everything
Yeah.
you're saying.
But they're vaccinated.
I think the vaccinations will go further along. I think also that what we saw was through the February breaks, based on what happened earlier, February breaks people were much more conservative. So I think there's definitely learnings that goes on within the community. And it trickles down to us. That's why I'm feeling comfortable in January, going back to the elementary and a little bit. And letting us go through that cycle. It just would give me a little more peace of mind. Like, back to somebody way early on when we first put the mandate in place, and we said, well, you're doing a belt and suspend suspender approach. I'm doing a little bit of that as I'm taking the belt and suspenders off too, just easing it off versus just saying, okay. And that's why I'd like us to go just a little slower. That's all.
Well, let me do this. For junior high schools, do any of the rest of you have kind of an idea or a timeline or?
Basically now, I'm
Now.
okay with it. I just want the staff to make it happen smoothly, so I'm okay with it now.
Right, so I would suggest now, not be now.
Yeah.
But I think it's, talk to the junior high school principals this
Yeah.
week, right? They'll work with their staff, so it'll be after Thanksgiving, right? figuring out a kind of measured approach to this, knowing that a huge percentage of our students are gonna keep their masks on, right? We've seen that this in the high school. I don't expect to see it any different here, right?
I have to tell my son to take his mask off after school. Like, you don't need to, you're in our house.
So do
So
we
it's
all,
elementary, it's a question.
so we're all, I think just we're all okay with junior highs after Thanksgiving. Elementary schools. For elementaries.
January, just because I think the vaccination number will be up to the junior highs. The numbers at that time. I think everybody's rushed, but a lot of people are rushing towards it. I'm saying January because they have 2 weeks, right? It's just not going to be 100% down before. I think our percentages will be junior high numbers and longer.
I'd be slightly more comfortable with what you're suggesting if the 90K members or the really young kids turned out to be vaccinated. 2 shots.
And they would be likely.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I'm okay with that too.
Brian?
I mean, I was just gonna point out, I understand the desire to sort of see how things goes, but like in that vein, right, there's plenty of school districts in this county that have not mandated mask wearing outside, and they have not, well, as far as I'm aware, seen any difference in the number of cases that they've had. So that's why I'm comfortable as soon as school staff thinks it appropriate to make a change, because I think we've basically done the experiment and we've seen that, while it may make some things work smoother, especially, at the beginning where you're worried about mixed messages about masks, like that all made sense at the beginning. But I feel at this point, it sounds like staff is comfortable sort of aligning with CDPH. And I think we've done sort of the natural experiment with other school districts and seen that that also seems fine. So whether it's now or whether December was just January.
We're in a very highly taxed corner of the county. Which is definitely something to think about.
So are we willing to give?
So I'll suggest a date, okay? So I think for our elementary students, if we look at January 10 as a target date, that is 3 school weeks past the junior high school, right? I know it's 2 months from now, kind of in your head, but if we look at how many school weeks are left, we've got this week, and we've got and we've got 1, 2, 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, and then 1 week when we get back. So it's 3 weeks past junior high. I think that's something.
And we will have
there for it.
had a pool test. that first week after.
And we will have that.
It seems like there was no compromise.
That's what I was going for, literally. Yes.
We have a So do we have
I
a,
knew
we
that
have a
the only
January
one had a
10th
couple
board
weeks of
meeting?
school.
We do.
Okay, so then we can have an update on
Yep.
this at the January 10th board meeting.
All right.
Do you feel like you have an update?
I do.
All right, thanks, everyone. We're gonna move on to our next agenda item, public hearing on the Educator Effectiveness Fund.
All right, so we are holding a public hearing tonight, which I think we need to close this meeting and open.
Oh,
the
yes.
Hearing.
Okay. All right, so I adjourn this meeting? No. Okay. Would like to adjourn this meeting now. And the public hearing is now open.
Thank you. I'll grab this if you don't mind. I'll grab it. All right, so I am glad to be here tonight to talk about a new bucket of money that has come from the state very recently. The turnaround time for this was fairly quick. We were notified that we were allocated just under $1 million from the state, very specifically for this fund called the Educator Effectiveness Fund. We have 5 school years. So starting this year through 25-26 to use the funds, and they really are to support professional learning for our district employees, our administrators, our certificated teaching staff, and our classified staff who works in our schools and in our district. So we're thrilled about having additional funds to support professional development. This particular fund came with no template or a plan. So I was pretty excited about that. So you did receive an attachment, I hope, with my version of a plan to present to you. So this really goes through all of the details. So looking at the work that we know we need to do over the next 5 years as a district, you've all heard the intensive work we're doing right now around intervention for our most at-risk students. The first area that we really want to do some work in is around depth and complexity, and this really supports the other end of meeting students who need extension, who want to go deeper. And we're really excited about this. Right before the pandemic hit, my entire department was doing a course through USC around the depth and complexity prompts. We're really excited about this work, and then it all kind of had to pause because of the pandemic. So we know that this is an area to really develop and bring to especially our upper grade and our junior high teachers who just need some more tools in their toolbox. We're really excited about this. This is actually one of the recommendations when Principals Exchange Arenda came out around supporting students who need that deeper or more extended learning. So we're excited to do work around there. The next area we talked about in our work with our grade special education department is how can we better support our classroom teachers when they have a student who's fully included for a portion or much of the school day. This is for students who might have more significant learning needs, and it's really a tough job for our classroom teachers who are generalists to know how to really specialize. So we'd like to work with our instructional support teachers who really do so much coaching with our general ed teachers and our RSP, our resource teaching staff, and how we can better support those folks. So we're excited to spend some of our money there. We also know that TK is coming down this coming school year. We're extending by 2 years, and over the next 4 years, we are 2 months, sorry, not 2 years. 2 months. We're not ready for that. 2 months, but over the next 3 or 4 years, we'll have a full group of 4-year-olds beginning school with us in the TK program. So we know we have some learning to do. We need to make sure that our teaching staff is fully credentialed to teach TK. We need to make sure that our program is no longer I'm almost 5 years old, but I'm actually a 4-year-old, and we want to prepare them for kindergarten and beyond. So we know we have a lot of programmatic work to do there as well. We have begun this year and last year beginning to train our classified staff to, especially our kinder aides, our TK aides, and our literacy aides, to really be able to be a better responder during our English language arts time. And so we would love to be able to offer a more advanced certificate for folks who wanted to deepen their own knowledge around supporting early literacy. So that is another program we want to develop. And then finally, kind of the big piece that we want to develop is what we're calling our professional learning hub. And I'm going to actually click because I think I go into some detail here, and then I'll go back to the other slide. You know, we know that adult learners have really different unique needs than our students do. And so we want to make sure when we think about professional learning and investing in the professional learning of our organization, we know we are a learning organization. We want to continue to improve our craft across the board. So we really want to develop a system and a space to be able to have ongoing trainings available to all of our staff. What I've learned in this position, now I think I'm in my 7th year, as things evolve, it's really hard to keep up. You know, we're now maybe 5 years into our great reading and writing workshop curriculum, and we used to hold 5-day trainings for all of our new teachers, and now it's about a day because we have other new things that we need to add on to. So this idea that we could really house our best trainings in an online learning management system, and I don't mean a Google Classroom that we use with our students, but a really professional online training system where our coaches can develop trainings, our great staff can develop trainings, and that we don't lose them over time. And so we can really turn those trainings into opportunities for our staff. We're also reaching out to some universities to see whether or not we can provide credit to our teachers' units that helps them advance on the salary schedule over time. We know that we'll be able to provide stipends for people who want to, like our classified aides who maybe want that more advanced literacy certificate, but perhaps there's a stipend involved with going through that training, and really be able to keep on top of and keep our best trainings. As we bring folks in, whether it's the people from Teachers College or our SBMI partnerships, or Sandra Kaplan, who did this great depth and complexity icons and prompts. When we are able to have great professional learning outside, we typically send a few folks, right? Or we bring someone in for a spot in time. This will help us memorialize and keep that great training available for folks for years to come, which is terrific. And
Sandra, do you want,
yeah.
what are you gonna say?
I was going to talk about the very last piece there. What I know, because we've all experienced probably more online learning than we've ever wanted to do, we know that that live component is so important. So I've been playing around with some different more professional learning portals. I think a really critical element is that there's some kind of pause to an online learning, and perhaps that classified aide who's getting the advanced literacy certificate needs to pause in their training and meet with their classroom teacher and has a series of prompts to go through, or has to demonstrate what they've learned, and one of our ISTs are able to go out and do some coaching in real time, so that there's always a live component, because we know that that live coaching is really what makes training stick. So we're excited about that as well. You just see a little bit of a timeline. It's probably a fairly aggressive timeline about new programs, and we'll see if we can stick to this, but there are lots of pieces in the air. I am also hoping, I'll put in a plug for my department, you know, we did lose, just because of circumstances, several of our ISTs this year, and we hope as the new year comes on that we're able to rebuild our team, because there is a lot of great work to be done. And, you know, we work very collaboratively with our special education department. We love their partnership and our larger CNI team, including our coaches. And we have the most amazing teaching staff, I think, of anywhere. So I know that we have teachers who would really enjoy developing a course in their area of expertise, and kind of have that available for folks to learn over time. So this is our public hearing. I will come back to you. One more slide. At our next meeting in December. That is when our plan needs to be approved before the end of December. So I'm here to take feedback, to make any adjustments to the plan, to hear from the public and from you all, and about learning in our district.
Thank you. Very exciting stuff.
Say
Say the least. Say the least. Are there any requests for public input? Okay, I do not see any. So, all right. Public hearing is now closed. Board members, would any of you like to provide comment on this agenda item?
minor one, which
Yeah.
probably thought of, but just pull it up. Because if we have together, creating new content's great. It's always fun. Maintaining it, make sure it's kept up to date. So just leave that in your thumb. And the cost of doing that will go beyond the brand. So
Right.
it would like to-
Any other comments?
I didn't see anything explicitly about principals. And I think that principals play a key role. They're the interface between parents and teachers, kids, just and so I think something in there specifically designed for principals might be appropriate. And I'll leave it totally up to you to do what you think is best there. Another thing which I didn't see was, do we have a policy, or is there state policy or local policy, whatever, for continuing education to keep up, for instance, your license? If you're a doctor or a lawyer, or something, maybe you have to take a certain amount of classes every year to keep their license there. And I'm wondering how that might fit in to this year. I would really like to see us have an expectation at least that our teachers, our staff commit, and we support that commitment
Absolutely.
to ongoing training on a year basis.
So there isn't a requirement any longer with the actual credential to do that, but there used to be. But I mean, Sandra and I have talked about ways to incent exactly what you're describing.
Because, world moves, turns beneath us. If we stop.
Yeah.
One final thing there is, we have talked in the past about nationally certified teachers. And I think it would be, my understanding is that this certification is really valuable to teachers. So having professional development sort of lead into that or encourage that or something like that would be great. And my last comment, I guess Jennifer's not here. More explicit support of children with special needs, or sorry, let me move here a second. More explicit support of teachers, general ed teachers supporting the teaching of children with special needs in general classes. Because that's an area that, I've seen, don't know what to do. And, that's not very good for the kids involved. But other than that, I think I'm excited that you're excited. Always excited. And I think that you and your staff are here.
Any other comments? Thank you so much. I bet you can write a plan in your sleep now. But this is
Don't
really,
worry, I'll be coming back soon with another plan. I think in February, I have another one for you.
well, this is really exciting stuff. So look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next agenda item, transfer of developer rights purchase and sale agreement. Randy?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure you're gonna get excited. But,
Oh, yeah.
not gonna say much. It's pretty much on the agenda. This is, I'm recommending that you approve the purchase and sale agreement with an outfit who we call Miramar. Technically, it's MG 400 Load LLC. And they are the third purchaser of development rights, which we have an agreement with. You can see the numbers in there, 36,000 square feet. Will give us just under $5 million, $4.68 million in proceeds. The two other purchasers previously combined with this one gives us about 44% of the total money that we're hoping to get from TDR purchases of $79 million. We're making our way there. The terms of this agreement are very similar to what we have with the two other purchasers. And I'm just going to turn it back to you and ask for board action to hopefully approve this.
Thank you.
Yep.
Members of the public, if you want to make public comment, please start raising your hands now. Are there any questions or comments from the board on Randy's? Okay. Are there any requests for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. Any further comment on this agenda item? Okay. Then may I please have a motion to approve transfer of development rights purchase and sale agreement with MG 400 Logue LLC?
I so move.
Thank you, Jessica. May I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Is there any further board discussion? No? Okay. Motion to approve transfer of development rights purchase and sale agreement with MG 400 Logue LLC was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Randy.
Thank you.
All righty. Oh, Randy, it's you again on the next one. Consideration of approval of findings and amendment to joint use agreement with the Los Altos Educational Foundation.
Yes, so let me just kind of walk you through this. We have a joint use agreement with the foundation, LAEF, and it involves them having a facility on their, or use of a facility on this campus right here at the district office. One of our rooms for their office in exchange for some rent. The 5-year agreement expires in this month. And this originally is brought to you as a amendment to that agreement to go essentially another 5 years. However, our attorneys just finished getting this finalized just not too long ago, and we're going to ask you tonight for a 30-day extension of the current agreement as part of the action tonight to give LAEF a chance to review the amendment, because there are some additional terms that weren't in the original agreement related to COVID protocols that are now required in all of our lease agreements. So in fairness to LAEF, they need a little time to review that. We will bring it back to you, the actual amendment, at our December 13th board meeting. But you do need to adopt the findings or approve the findings that are written in the rationale here on the agenda item as part of the action tonight, as well as approving the 30-day extension. So hope I covered everything. Okay, turn it back to you.
Okay, members of the public, if you want to make public comment, please start raising your hands now. Board members, any clarifying questions or comments for Randy?
I just have one. It's 30 days and 60, given the holiday breaks and everything going on.
I think it gives them enough time, because I think the only questions they have are going to be dealt with pretty quickly. We've already had some preliminary talks with them.
Great. Are there any requests for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. Board members, would any of you like to provide further comment on this agenda item? Okay. So, may I please have a motion to adopt the following findings and approve the 30-day extension to the joint use agreement with Los Altos Educational Foundation? The findings are as follows. The proposed first amended will not, 1, interfere with the educational program or activities of any district, school, or class conducted at the Covington Elementary School site. 2, unduly disrupt the residents of the surrounding neighborhood. And 3, jeopardize the safety of the children at the property.
I so move.
Thank you, Justin. May I have a second? Thank you, Steve. Is there any further board discussion? Okay, the motion and the findings as presented was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Are
Yes,
you excited?
I am very excited. I just get more and more excited as this meeting goes on. Our next, oh, good. I really like this one. I actually am excited. I'm really excited about number 7. I'm not even joking. Resolution number 21/22-08. Support for establishing a county health clinic in the northern portion of Santa Clara County. Mr. Bear.
Yes, I think you've seen the resolution. It's pretty self-explanatory, but this is really directed to the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, throwing our support in the ring for the establishment of a health facility up here in this portion of the county. There are clinics being established in other places in Santa Clara County, and we really want to be sure our voices are heard on this. I think Mount View Wisman, or Mount View Los Altos have already done
Yes.
put forth a similar resolution.
Yes, they
So
have.
Shelley, I throw it back to you for anything else.
Thank you. Any clarifying, we'll just say, members of the public, if you'd like to make public comment, please start raising your hands now. Any clarifying comments? Okay. Are there any requests for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Board members, would any of you like to provide additional comment on this agenda item?
I'd say I'm glad to see that we're doing this. I know it's something that Supervisor Smithian has struggled with over the years, is that our part of the county which he represents gets stereotyped as a wealthy part of the county, and so it's hard to get services for the residents that we have that are not as well off. So very much needed.
Yeah, I'm very excited that if this comes through, we can increase access and availability of healthcare services to our families. Any other comments? Okay. Then may I please have a motion to approve resolution number 21/22-08, support for establishing a county health clinic in the northern portion of Santa Clara County.
I so moved.
Thank you, Jessica. That was very enthusiastic. Can I have a second? Next.
She's gonna work with it.
I know, but see, there's enthusiasm behind those eyes.
Where?
Is there any further board discussion? No. Okay. Motion to approve resolution number 21/22-08, established support for establishing a county health clinic in the northern portion of Santa Clara County was made by Jessica and seconded by Steve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Great, thank you all. Motion passes unanimously. Oh, boy, it gets really exciting with board policy updates.
All right, so let's item here, action discussion item. So there's 11 board policies here for your consideration, updates to current board policies. We came to you back in August, September, and let you know that due to the pandemic, there was a backlog of policies. We did not prioritize this work ahead of getting kids back in school. So these waited in the wings. Big thanks to Marcy and to Randy and Sandra and Aaron and Jennifer. Everyone had a hand in really working to get us caught back up to keep the board abreast of all of the current changes. So this is the last of the ones that were backlogged. I think these are from September of 2021, just this last September, and a few stragglers. We expect the next one to come in January. They come 4 times a year. So, but this is the last one for a first read this year. And we'll be caught up. So again, as a reminder, these are policies that are updated to reflect changes in law, judicial decisions, etc., that impact policies that are in place here in the state. So with that, I open it up for any
Thank you.
questions or discussion.
Thank you, Jeff.
And as usual, they will come back on next meeting under consent with any assume there might be.
Members of the public, if anyone wants to provide public comment, please start raising your hands now. Any clarifying questions from the board before going to discussion? Are there any requests for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Board members, would any of you like to provide comment on any of these policies? Okay, I don't have any comments either. Thank you, Jeff. Now, on to board and administration comments. Sandra, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, I got sidetracked earlier with Randy's audio problems, but I'm not sure if Jeff mentioned that tomorrow night we have a preschool presentation. Did you include that?
I did not. Go ahead.
So we have an information session around TK and kinder for preschool families. I think Marcy, last I heard, we have 40 or so signed up to attend, which is great. So we're excited to talk about our projects and our great education for students. This Thursday, our computer science team is presenting to the LAEF board at their first in-person board meeting Thursday evening. So we're excited to share about updates to what we've been doing with our computer science program. And then just wanted to let you know that we submitted stage 3, all the requirements for our infection program. So we're really hoping that we can start in fall with our big push.
I guess I'll just say that we're working hard at getting the first round of financial report ready for the board at the next meeting, November 13th. So we're getting close to finishing that. We're not presenting it.
Excellent. Jeff?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Brian?
Say that Jessica and I sat in this morning on a meeting between PTA folks, principals, and LAEF. They've been in discussions for a couple of years now about sort of combining and streamlining the donation infrastructure that we all experience when we were parents in the school district. So this sort of unfortunately was seen with PTA, there's turnover every year, so they're socializing it with a whole new crop of volunteers as well as those who have seen it before. They're going to try to come, I think, to some kind of consensus by January or February so that they can either pull the trigger and start, changing all of the materials in preparation for next fall, or figure out whether they need to. I think Jessica can elaborate. My connection was in and out, so I didn't see the whole presentation. But they've got a few different possibilities that they're looking at and trying to decide what if anything needs to change.
Is it only for donations or is it also include the gala auction?
It's those would actually, schools can do what they want in that aspect. It is more the direct ask. And it's encompassing the direct ask of all schools into one ask with the LAEF ask in there too. So it's one check. There are, it was said many times, the devil's in the details. Very much so as it related to PTA leadership, really wanted to know what it was going to be like before they would say they would do it. They did like the idea of not getting away from the confusion of several asks. I can tell you, I did the event. I was a download for dollars for LAF for Egan parents, and I talked to 2 or 3 parents who said I gave to LAF, and they had given to Egan. So it was I experienced it very, and that was a lot of my fault. Anyway, and what I want to say is like I don't know if it will other people ask.
I say it's not a agenda item, so you probably don't want to.
Yeah. Good point. Anyway, that's what they have.
Is there anything else you want to say in board comment?
Oh, yes, I do. So on November 9th, I presented to SCC, the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, about I was a part of a panel of board members members who do office hours, and they just had questions about how we did it. And one of the people speaking was somebody from Saratoga, Cynthia Miller. Anyway, she's the person I learned from. I like went to the CSBA AEC thing, learned about it from her, and went and Brian and I, within a year, had started doing office hours. A lot of people had interest in getting out of the community. How we did it. Also, I'm just out here selling this. I got my COVID booster last week, and we are now all eligible to get our COVID boosters. So get your appointments, go get your COVID boosters along with the kids. I even got a very nice kid thing. So. And that's it.
Excellent. Vladimir?
Just a couple of Santa Clara County School Boards Association meetings. And there's another one coming up tomorrow. What fun. So that's all.
Awesome. I don't have anything to add except wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving week. And I'm really looking forward to the CSBA AEC conference and attending in person. So looking forward to that. All right, that's it. I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting.